What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Antler&FeatherCo podcast, the podcast for new and adult onset hunters. My name's Vince, I'm your host, and on this show, I, a newer inexperienced hunter, bring people on who know a whole hell of a lot more about hunting than I do. And as I ask them questions and I learn new things, I just want to pass those right along to you guys. So for starters, couple good reminders for you guys. Number one, get yourself signed up for the AFCO Best Buck Championship. Guys, you've got less than a month to get in on that. If you killed a buck this year, regardless of size, just go to my Instagram, find the post, it's pinned at the top, get yourself registered. You're going to have to send me the picture. Me and a bunch of judges are going to pick a top 5. Then we're going to turn that over to you guys, and you guys are going to vote for the best buck. What's in it for you? Well, if you win, you're going to get an Antler&FeatherCo championship belt. You're going to get a new gas bowstring from Adams Precision Archery. You're going to get a brand new Buzzard Roost saddle from Buzzard Roost Saddles. If you're on a youth tag, which the youth tag, there's not too many people signed up for that. You got a good shot. If you do that, you're going to win a miniature championship belt from AFCO. You're going to win an Intimidator grunt call, courtesy of Edible Outdoors Cook. You're also going to get a couple hats from him. Guys, just get signed up. There's no reason. Unless you did not kill a buck, you can't put does in there. Sign up for it. It's free. There's cool prizes. Get on there and do that. Secondly, I want to thank everybody again for checking out the website, antler&featherco.com. You guys have been awesome. For everyone who's bought gear, who's just checked it out, everybody who's thinking about buying gear, thanks for doing that. I appreciate it. It's awesome to see. I just got those 3-spot Vegas targets in. I'm gauging interest to see if you guys want those or not. If you do, I will put them on the website. I'm not trying to make a bunch of money off them. I am going to have to figure out shipping and all that. If I just break even just to get those to you guys, if you want them, that's cool with me. I'll figure that part out. But real quick, let's go through our friends of the show. Number one, Our Grounds Coffee Co. It's the official coffee of the Antler&FeatherCo podcast. Ed is he's kicking ass with Our Grounds. It's a great, great coffee. Ask anyone who's tried it. I want you to try it. Go on his website, use all caps AFCO. That's going to get you 15% off your order. I really like Roosevelt. I'm excited for Color Phase, which should be coming out sometime soon here. Muley Mayhem, if you're a dark roast person, you can't beat it. So also, check out Buzzard Roost Saddles. It's the most comfortable saddle your butt will ever sit in, I promise you. Go check them out. They're American-made in Louisiana. They support military and law enforcement. Just a great company, hardworking company. Go support them. Use code AAFP10. That'll get you 10% off your Buzzard Roost saddle. And finally, you know what's coming next. Spartan Forge. Guys, it is just the best mapping deer prediction app you're going to find. Use code AFCO, all caps on their website. That's going to get you 20% off your full subscription. Go try it for free right now during turkey season. Then when you want to go get the full subscription, use that code, save a little money, and enjoy it. Trust me, you will love it. So this week, we're going to talk to a true Aerosmith. No, not Steven Tyler. We're going to talk to Dustin Adams of Adams Precision Archery. He's doing awesome with it. He started around the same time as me. He's blowing me away. He's growing. He does a great job on social media. He is just a really great guy. I wanted to bring him on and talk to him about arrows, turkey hunting. God knows where this is going to go. Dustin's a fun dude to talk to, so I hope you guys enjoy it. So let's hurry up and get him on the show because I just want to get right into the content with him. So please help me welcome to the show, Dustin Adams from Adams Precision Archery. Dustin, how we doing today, dude?
I'm great, man. I'm thankful to be here with you, and thanks so much for having me on the show. I'm looking forward to our conversation, man.
Absolutely, dude. It's been a long time coming. We've tried to have a show, and it's like we were talking about off camera. When you say the word, I have kids, you just never know what you're going to get.
You can throw your schedule out, man.
Yeah. Aside from the literal, your real work schedule, which even that sometimes, that kid wakes up at midnight coughing.
Forget it.
You're done.
Yeah, sorry. Gonna have to call my boss.
Right.
Yeah,
so
dude.
how did your deer season go? Now you guys are all wrapped up too, I assume.
Yeah, we finished up on the 9th of January, and so it went okay, man. I've got a freezer full of deer meat.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, but it could have been better, I think. It was just one of those things that we're finding some new success with the company, and I think that demanded a little bit more time. And so unfortunately I didn't get to spend quite as much time in the woods as I would have liked, but I'll take the alternative this season. Hopefully next year I'll have a little more. Hopefully next year I'll have a little more, kind of an idea what's going on with everything, and be able to schedule around that some more and get in the woods. But I killed 2 this year, and unfortunately a third would have been, but I wasn't able to recover it. So
yeah. That's one of the that's one of the shitty parts of the game. It's one, like we've talked about before on the show. As long as you do your due diligence and you look your ass off for that deer, at some point, unfortunately, sometimes you got to give up. I mean, who knows what happens? More than likely, if you don't find them, they're probably still kicking somewhere. Hopefully. Yeah, I think she made it, man. I made a bad shot. I made a bad shot, and I knew I made a bad shot, and she was well enough to where, after I shot her, she kind of scooted off into some brush that was about 20 yards from me, and she was feeling well enough to stand in that brush and blow at me. So I think, I think she's probably good, man. So hopefully get another crack next season. Yeah. And it seems like I've heard it from a lot of people, myself included. This season was just, for whatever reason, it seems like it was busy for a lot of people. A lot of people I've heard, hey, I was just not in the woods as much as I would have liked to this year. So I think it was just, it's one of those squirrely years, and I think that, neither one of us can enter our own contest. but it happens. But yeah, so guys, speaking of our contest, so Dustin is Adams Precision Archery. He I hooked up with him a long time ago when I first started this, and I don't think we had really had a whole lot of interaction at that time. And I reached out to him and was like, hey, I'm trying to put this together. Here's my idea. And he was like, hell yes, let's do it. And he was awesome enough to he's going to give away a new set of gas bowstrings. That's one of the main prizes on the AFCO Best Buck Championship. So we can all clap and say thank you, Dustin, for that, because that's an awesome prize. The sponsors are way better prizes than what I'm offering. I'm giving you a freaking championship belt so you can act like a 5-year-old again.
No, listen, right. And so you're giving the gift of youth, and there is no better gift, man. So yeah, 100%, man. I'm super pumped to be involved with it. And it's funny. We were just talking about our hunting season. When you brought it up to me, man, I was sitting in the deer stand. It was 91 degrees because it was like September, and I'm in South Georgia, and I was just like, man, let's do it, bro. Like, I love getting involved in stuff like that, man. I think it's great for the hunting community, and it's just, it puts a little something on the line, and I'm competitive. And so, most times when somebody asks me to get in on something like that, I'm like, yeah, let's do it, man.
Right. Yeah. And speaking of giveaways, you're also part of another giveaway. You want to talk about that, or is that going to be over? This is going to come out Tuesday. Will that still be open? Oh,
no, well, this is gonna that thing's done. It was a little quick 5-day, man. It's done on Sunday, and I'm not, man. A guy that's been following me for a bit, man. He asked me if I would help him out. He bought the thing, and this is his giveaway, and I'm just trying to help him out and help him have some growth, man. So,
yeah. Well, that's what it's all about, man. I mean, especially
for sure, bro.
As each one of us, like we started around the same time, and you've doubled, in followers and exposure, and it's awesome to see. I'm super happy for you. But it is important, as we all grow, there's going to be people coming in behind us that are in that same spot that we were when we first started. And I think it's awesome that you are always more than willing to be like, hey man, you get on the train with us, not stay back there. We're doing our thing over here. You're super, super good about getting everybody new, get them, what is it called? Platformed. Try to help get their name out, and
yeah, man. Well, because it was done for me, man. It was done for me. And it's so funny that I promise this isn't planned. It's so funny that we're talking about this though, because I was just talking with a guy that helped me out. Most of you guys, I'm sure, follow Joe Gabo on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I was talking to him on the phone the other day, and we've become pretty good buddies. And I was chatting with him, and he's like, man, it's just so weird how it happens. Like when you come into this and you're trying to get social media exposure and you're trying to grow your in my case, a company, but in his case, that personal brand and that sort of stuff like that, how you link up with a couple of guys that are kind of in that same spot as you, man. And everybody just kind of, builds off of one another and grows together, man. And so, I think that inadvertently, whenever I started this, you were one of the first pages that I followed, and I kind of for a while there, like I always measured my growth against you because I knew we were in it at about the same time. And so I'm checking and like watching your page and all that stuff like that. So it's been pretty cool to see just kind of, to see your growth and what AFCO is doing. And bro, I love the work, man. I love the stuff. So I'm happy to see everybody growing, and I want to help the guys that are coming in now that have 100 and 200 social media followers and boost those guys up too, man, and get everybody big, Yeah.
Yeah. And it is cool. I mean, I get to see it also from this podcast is well, I won't say it doesn't always stop, but for the most part, it doesn't just stop at like, all right, I've hit 5,000 followers. Now I'm elite or whatever that magical number where you're like officially official. I mean, I reach out to people for this podcast that I have no business talking to at this stage in the podcast, and even early on back in season 1. And you get these guys who they're just famous in the industry. Like they've been around, like someone like a Dan Infalt, Garrett Prawl, Bill from Spartan Forge, the Growing Deer TV, Dr. Grant, like guys like that. Like they're still okay with like, hey man, I'm new. I want to learn. I got this show to help other people learn. And they're like, absolutely. And I don't know if that's just kind of just the hunting industry. I'm sure maybe it's like that in other industries, but anything else I've ever been involved in, you don't get to just message and talk to the celebrities of that industry. And this one, like hunting industry, you can pretty much, guys, if you're going to start a podcast, my best advice to you, and this was given to me from Cliff Cadet, don't be afraid to ask anybody to come on your show. Doesn't matter who it is. You're either not going to get an email back, you're going to get a no, I'm too busy, or they're going to say yes. And a lot of times, guys, they'll say yes.
I mean, the worst thing so the worst thing they can say is no. I mean, no is the worst answer you can get, and no never hurts anybody, man.
Right.
What hurts people who are growing, right, is not stepping up and going for that and putting yourself out there, man. If you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to get to realize full potential. I mean, I believe that wholeheartedly. And I was just having this conversation this week, man, with the dreaded Archer, and we were talking about how accessible the big name people in this industry are, despite the fact that they are the giants of the industry. You know what I mean? Like outside of here, if you look at Hollywood celebrities or whatever the case is, man, you can't get in touch with those people, man. Those people they're on a level where like guys like us, man, we're never going to even talk to these people. You're never going to see them, but your Levi Morgans and your Dan Statons and all these guys, man, like I literally, man, I just was talking to Levi Morgan 4 days ago, dude. You know what I mean? That's
awesome.
And it's just messaging a little bit back and forth, and man, it's really encouraging trying to become something in this industry and seeing the people that are already on that level that are still willing to help the people that are trying to get there. You know what I mean? So I think that's the beauty of our industry, bro. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's just kind of to touch on what you were saying, like if you're getting into this, whether you're going the influencer route, where you're just, I don't mean to say this in a bad way, so don't get offended, influencers, but if you're going the route of like, here's every brand, all I'm going to do is show you videos of me doing things in this, if that's what you want to do and that's what you like to do, cool, go for it. If you want to do the more like educational type of route like I'm trying to do or whatever it is or something like you're trying to do, the number one limiting factor I've seen, as we've been around long enough now that we can we've seen trends. I think the number one trend I see with guys is they come out of the gate hot, and then they limit themselves because they're afraid to ask so-and-so to come on their show. They're afraid to talk to this person. They're afraid to look stupid. It's like you said, if you're going to do this, just go all out. And then it's kind of a war of attrition. Who's going to stay around past 6 months?
That's it, man.
You're going to grow.
And I think that's the mark, right? I think that's naturally it's just going to happen. You're going to grow. But I do think that 6 month mark is it's critical, man, because, to grow on your social media platforms and it takes work, man. People don't think that it's consuming from a time standpoint, but it really is, dude. Like you have to post and post and post and answer people's questions and respond to messages and be timely. And you have to, there's just a certain level of commitment that requires, and it pays dividends on the other side as far as your brand's growth and that sort of thing. So, it's a challenge, man. And a lot of people get tired of doing that. You know what I mean? They get worn out with it. They get beaten down. Regular life takes over and consumes that time. But it is definitely a time consuming beast to grow yourself on a social media platform, particularly because there are so many other people in this segment. And if you don't fill that slot of that guy, man, that's going to put in that time and effort, somebody else is going to step into that spot. Yeah. And then it's just too late,
Well, hey, before we get going too far in, I do not want to forget to say a prayer real quick. So I'm going to say a prayer, and then we're going to hop into more Adams Precision Archery related stuff. I want to know how this whole thing started from you. So, Lord Jesus, I thank you for another day. I thank you that you allowed me to wake up and breathe your air. You allowed me to go out into your creation. You allow me to enjoy your creation. I thank you that you have put structure in this world through, going to work, having a family, all of these things that a lot of times they can be big stressors to us, but ultimately they're giant gifts that you've given us. And I thank you for all that. Any of the difficulties that we've gone through today or this week, there's a reason. There's a purpose. There's a reason. There's a lesson you're trying to show us. And ultimately the gift that we get at the end of that tunnel, it's just amazing. It's shaping us. You're growing us. So we thank you for all that. And then we obviously thank you, Lord, for all the great things that we get to just enjoy. Just pure enjoyment, getting to play with our kids, getting to shoot our bow, getting to go hunt in the woods. These are all things that you created for our enjoyment. And that's where Jesus coming down, dying on the cross for us, allowing us to have that relationship with you and enjoy these things. We just want to thank you for Jesus as well. I want to thank you for Dustin. It's been back and forth trying to get it, but we finally got here. I want to thank you for him and his time. I want to thank you for what you've done for him with the growth of his company and in his life. And I want to ask that you'd be over this conversation. We already know it's going to be a great conversation, and we just ask that you're here with us. We thank you for Jesus. We love you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay. Man. So for starters, I always say this, it wouldn't be a hunting show without knowing, how did you get into hunting and archery? Because archery is a big, big part of your life now. How did that all start for Dustin? Or Adam? For who? I always see this. Is it Dustin? Is it Adam? What's his name?
I know, man. Dude, it's so everybody calls me Adam, bro. Like, I guess it's because it's in the name, but
there's no apostrophe.
My name is Dustin. Right, but yes, you're 100% correct, bro. My name is Dustin Adams. Adams is the last name. If I had it to do again, I would have just been like something else.
Yeah. Dude. Well, if this podcast accomplishes nothing else from this point forward, we at least answered that damn question for everybody.
Man, I just think it's still going to keep happening, bro. I'm conditioned to it at this point, man. I don't even correct it anymore. They're just like, what's up, Adam? I'm like, what's up, bro?
Right. You just put him in that other bucket until you figure them out a little bit more.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'm Adam.
So how'd you get into hunting, man? How did it find you, and especially archery? How did that get into your life?
Man, so I've always been interested in hunting. I'm a first generation hunter. It's not something that was passed down to me from my parents or grandparents or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It's something that I live in a rural area, and so growing up, a lot of my friends were into it, and they did it often, right? But I come from humble beginnings, and I didn't have the means to make that happen, and so I was kind of left out on that a little bit, and up until about 5 years ago, man, I just would go on like an invitee type basis from time to time. And about 5 years ago, man, I started working with a guy, a big time bow hunter. And, since I already had that interest, I kind of opened that dialogue with him, and we started talking bow hunting and just kind of the excitement of it. And I started watching YouTube videos of it and all that. And I was like, man, I'm going to do this. And so, it just kind of became a thing from there, man. And so I started bow hunting, and then, bought some property, and then bought some more property. And now I'm all about it, man. It's a super critical thing in my life. Even if I wasn't doing the archery company, I mean, it would, it's something that's really important to me, and I'm super passionate about. My wife's passionate about it. And I did forget to mention that. So my wife's family, all hunters, rifle hunters, but, as I kind of grew those connections with them, with with her, immediate family and then more extended family, naturally, I think, you being a married man, understand you could easily start to progress, kind of along some of those trends. And so, just a conglomerate of things, I guess is the short answer, just kind of steered me in that direction. And it's a big part of my life now, man.
Yeah. It's, there's few things. I've done a lot of things in my life. There's few things like hunting, and specifically bow hunting, that really grab a hold of your life. Like I was an elite level wrestler. I've done, I've gotten into jujitsu, and that's a thing people get real passionate about. And I really do love it. But nothing has really, like, you can do hobbies, but you get into hunting, like, that's your life. You have your family and your job, but it's, even if, I mean, you can have people, like you said, when you first started out, and maybe you go out once or twice a year with buddies, and they say, hey, use my gun, use my camo. Once you commit, you start buying your own stuff. That's literally, not to sound cheesy about it, you've just taken on an entirely new lifestyle. And there are few 100%. Things in this world that are like that.
100%. And it's, I think that, and nothing against gun hunting and rifle hunting, right? Because everybody, do your thing. But I think that is more exclusive to bow hunting, right? I think that bow hunting is definitely more of an entire lifestyle change. I mean, it makes you feel like that is the way that people are intended to live. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so it lights this fire of passion within you, man, that like, I mean, nothing else that I've ever done. I'm one of these people, like, when I have a hobby, I'm in, man. I spend money on it. I invest time and everything. I mean, I think that might be guys just in general, but I mean, I get into it, but I've never experienced anything like bow hunting, man. It's just,
neither is your bank account.
No, it hasn't. Photography was close, bro. Yeah. I had a photography gig back in the day, man, and it can get down into the bottom of your wallet too, bro.
That's the one bad part about bow hunting, especially in this day and age. I mean, there's quite a few people who are now interested in whether it's just content creation or filming their hunts or whatever it may be. It's like, it's almost part of it now. If you're going to be a hunter, you're also wanting to film it, whether it's because you want to put out content or you want to film it so you can watch it again. So you almost have to pick up the photography thing with hunting now.
For sure.
Now you're like $80,000 in debt, and you just but you're happy.
Right. Now you have to tell your wife that you just got a second mortgage on your house.
Yep.
We're never going to retire. Like, it's that's part of it though, man. Like, I agree with that. And I think me and you were talking about this, right? Like how that younger generation of bow hunters, man, I mean, they're bringing that to the table as far as like, I think blending the old school, like what the 60-year-old guys out there are doing with the same thing that these 25-year-old guys are doing, and bringing the cameras and the content creation, like, merger with the hunting industry, which is like super on fire right now,
Oh yeah. I mean, like I was saying on the last podcast, it's almost like even there, I mean, there's people who would not consider themselves content creators. They just have an Instagram account and they like to share what they do. And I don't think they realize, like, you're a content creator. I mean, if you take the time to take a video and even, edit it, even if you don't edit it, you're a content creator. And it's just like, it's crazy because it's everyone's doing it. And it's,
Yeah. If you're the guy that goes and records a hunt and spends 3 hours clipping those, editing and clipping that footage to make, a 35-second reel,
right.
You're a content creator, bro.
Right.
Accept your truth, man. You're a content creator.
That's right. So how did you get into specifically building arrows and taking that whole thing on? And also talk about, like, I don't think people, well, I don't know this for a fact. I know for a long time, I didn't realize, like, your Adams Precision Archery is not just building arrows. Like, you
right.
do a whole lot of other stuff. So how did you get into that side of it? What spurred, like, the business idea for Adams Precision Archery?
So I'm sure you've heard this story before. My local bow shop did terrible quality work. And so, I mean, I think that's everybody who's ever started a gig in the archery industry probably started at their bow shop.
Yeah.
And so, when you're just getting going and you have no idea what quality work looks like or what the process should look like, you just don't know, man. You hand them your money and that's that. But, like I said before, when I get into a hobby and undergo a lifestyle change, I start to research that and I learn about it and read about it. And I pretty quickly realize, like, hey, man, these guys are charging me regular money for work that's not up to par. And so I decided I'm going to start building my own arrows. So I built a set, and a couple guys that I hunt with saw them and asked me to build them a set. And then their buddies started asking me to build them. And that was, I mean, it was pretty much that basic. And I told my wife one day, I kind of told her what was going on. And she's like, well, let's start a little business and see what happens. And then she literally had to push me for 6 months. I kept procrastinating. I'm like, all right, I'll do it. We'll do it. And I came home one day and just this past July, man, and she was like, so here's what we've got. I created an Instagram account. I created a Facebook page. I registered us as far as getting legitimized as a company.
Yeah.
We have a website I'm working on. You need to start doing stuff with this company. I was like, all right.
Damn it.
Yeah. Damn it. You're making me work. It's literally that simple. And then, I started reaching out to these manufacturers and companies, trying to become a dealer for them. And so I could, obviously get a better price on their products. And then we started picking up other brands, man, that aren't arrow related, that, HHA and UltraView and gas bowstrings and all these different things. And now we're a full online e-commerce store. We carry 15 brands and we're growing all the time. And man, it just kind of, these things evolve if you let them. And so I think that the important thing is that we're having a really good time while we're doing it. And we're just kind of letting it become what it's going to. I think back, and I think that our first conversation was about doing arrows temporarily until we were comfortable enough to try to launch our own brand of bowstrings, which was the original plan. That's what it was going to be. And the arrow thing, man, is just taken off. And I can't even imagine trying to talk about building bowstrings right now, dude. Like, forget about it, man. Forget about it.
So I take the strings and I twist them up and put some wax on them, and there we are.
Yeah. Let me introduce you to our new yarn bowstrings.
Right.
Quickest in the industry to make.
There you go. Also quickest to break.
Yeah, no question about it. You're going to get maybe one shot from these.
Right. So do you guys have any plans of, is this going to, do you foresee or want this to become a brick and mortar type of a thing too, and become like your sole endeavor, or you just kind of along for the ride with it?
Yeah, I mean, I do want it to become my sole endeavor, but I'm along for the ride at the same time. Like, I don't want to force anything or try to, make it too much too fast, because I think that that's a recipe for disaster. Yep.
Yeah.
And so I think we're just kind of taking the opportunities as they come, and I don't really have a plan, man. I wish I did. I wish I was one of those guys that had like a 5-year plan for this company and a 3-year plan. And I mean, we're just enjoying what we're doing, and it's I think that is showing. And I think that that's the main reason for the success that we're having, man, is that there's not pressure on us about it. And it's not it's still a hobby. I mean, it's a business, but it's a hobby, and we're still passionate about it, and we're still enjoying it, and it's growing like crazy. And we're just going to let it take us where it goes, and who knows where it'll be in a year, man, or what it might be. But I don't want to put it, I just think it's important not to put that pressure on ourselves about it, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, it is important to make goals, you know, long-term goals, short-term goals. Sure. But I think you're right. When you can get too consumed with those goals, and it's almost like goals can sometimes turn you against your own project. Like you stop enjoying it because it just becomes work. And that's the one reason why I'm still doing this, why you're still doing what you're doing, is I've never stopped enjoying the process of it. Don't get me wrong. There's been days, I mean, probably every other day, you know, you're like, oh, this sucks. Sure. I'm done. And then the next day happens. You have a really good day and you're like, this is awesome. And, you know, I've gotten some messages lately from a couple guys, just like on some of the posts I put out, where they're just like, dude, thank you for doing that. Like I did that one the other day about like just basic archery terminology. And I got a couple messages that people were like, I needed that. That was awesome. Thank you. And, you know, you guys out there, you guys out there, you know, you're just shooting a message saying, hey man, thanks. You guys don't understand. Like those are the very things that sometimes keep these things afloat. And, you know, so I really appreciate that when you interact. And I think that's another really big reason why you're so successful. Not only because, you know, you do awesome work, your arrows are just the color. I don't know what you do. It's magic. Your arrows are some of the most kick-ass looking arrows. And I'm sure they're just death darts too, but you do a really good job of interacting with your followers and everybody. It's almost like it's not followers, they're friends. You've made them into a family, not a following. And that's an important recipe. Going live with them all the time. You're accessible.
Yeah, that's what I want it to be, man. That's what I want it to be. I want it to be that. Like, you know, these guys, I mean, I have this core group of guys that have been there since the very beginning. These guys text me on my cell phone. We talk. We chat. I mean, they are my friends, man. And they've become that through this. And I think that that's just so critical, man, because again, once you think that you've become bigger than that, you're going to fail. And I want to back up real quick. Yeah. I don't mean to sound like we don't have goals. We do have goals, of course. Right. But it's not, we've already achieved more than we thought we were going to with this. You know what I mean? Yeah. I had a push to do well with this because of my day-to-day job and the fact that it's very mundane. And I mean, listen, let's face it, man, very few people enjoy their jobs. Right. And so, you know, I think that you get to the point, man, I've got 3 children and a wife, and you get to the point where you're like, man, I am working my life away. I'm spending my entire life away from the people whom I'm working for. And I need to change that. And so this opportunity has allowed me to do that. And you know, I work part-time at my day job now. And so if it stayed just like it is right now forever, man, I'm cool with it, because at the end of the day, I have twice as much time, 3 times as much time with the people that matter in there. And so I'm already so thankful. So, you know, I guess I mean that in a way, like, I don't want to sound greedy, like I need more than what it's giving, because it's already giving so much to my family and to my kids and my wife and to me, man. So anything above what's happened already is bonus points, man, you know? So that's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah, no. And I try to remind myself of that too. And like, I think both of us are fortunate in the respect of like, as I'm trying to grow this thing. And I think ultimately, you'd be lying if somebody said, well, yeah, I have this project I do and I don't want it to be my full-time job. Like, yes, you do. Like, I want this thing just like you do. I would love for this to be what I do. But I am also, not everybody, you know, that's why I don't want to take this opportunity for granted, because I can do this and I can try to grow this, and my fallback plan,
I've been at John Deere for almost 15 years. Like, my fallback plan, like, I'm very, very, very thankful and fortunate that if this thing ended tomorrow, my life is okay. And that allows me to take the risks, to do the, extra things, to start the apparel company. Now, granted, the way I have it set up wasn't huge overhead, but like I've really quickly come into, I want to do this, and this now. And it is, it is risk. Starting to buy more hats, trying to get those things produced that, you're spending money, you're taking risks. There's different ideas you want to do. But I know that if anything happens, if it fails, I'm okay. And that allows me to push harder into this.
Yes, same thing. So my scenario is exactly the same. And man, as much as I don't like that day-to-day, that day job that I've been doing for so long, man, I'm so fortunate that the company that I work for saw what was going on. They know that I have this business and that it's growing and everything. And they approached me, man, and they were like, listen, the owner of the company, I got to tell you, the owner of the company is an avid bow hunter. All right. Nice. So that automatically helps my cause, right?
You gave him free arrows, didn't you?
I sold them to him at full price. But anyways, hey, I make that guy plenty of money, man. Right. He paid full price. I tried to give him a discount and he's like, no, I want to pay what everybody else pays. And I'm like, all right, cool, man. I ain't going to argue with you. But anyways, so they came to me, man, and they're like, so we have an opportunity if you want to put you part-time. He said, what we'll do is we'll put you part-time. You'll maintain all of your benefits and you'll keep all your vacation time. And if it doesn't work out, then you just have to say that you want to come back full-time and you're in, man. You'll be right back. So
that's awesome.
When I talked to my wife about it and we kind of started having this discussion about, maybe this being a reality, it was like, I mean, how many times does a half risk present itself to you? You know what I mean? Like it's only a half risk. And that's how I view it, is like, yeah, I mean, sure, there's some risk. I took a pay cut, but it's still not, man. If this thing falls apart tomorrow, like the following day, I'm right back doing what I was doing before, and we're super comfortable, So
and I mean,
it's just not a,
it's
a comfortable risk,
right? And taking a pay cut and stuff. I mean, you take the pay cut, but you're still making, you have income coming in from something you actually enjoy, but aside from the money aspect, and I don't mean to say this like everyone can just go quit your job and do what you love. It'll all work out, because that's not usually going to work out. But you don't just follow your dreams, guys. There's some structure to that. But no, like it does not, that money aspect does not replace how much happier are you, as a person, as a dad, as a husband. Like that alone, this archery business has given you, happiness, which again, it sounds cheesy, but anybody who's got a full-time job with a family, kids, like you're going to understand what we're saying right now.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Some guys are just
getting up at going to work at 8:00 in the morning and getting home at 9:00 every night. Dude, I was working 65 hours, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 65 hours a week. Like, I mean, I had periods of time, man, where I wouldn't even see my kids for 5 days, and I lived in the same house with them. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I just got tired of that, man. I got tired of it, and that creates having that going on for a person who truly values the family, which not everybody does, and not everybody has kids, and so they're, of course, their perspective I think is a little different, but for the people who do have that and who truly hold value to that, there's no replacement for time. There is no replacement for that time and those precious moments, man. And so it's worth it. It's worth it, man.
Oh, yeah.
It creates such a drive to find that success in a way that you're still able to have that time as well.
Right.
And that is the ultimate goal. Speaking of goals, that is the ultimate goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a pretty damn good goal to have.
Yeah,
so,
man.
For some newer guys, or for some people who maybe they've always just bought arrows off the shelf, maybe they go to Field and Stream, they grab the 6-pack, they grab the Rage, hypodermics off the thing. For those guys, because inevitably, not everybody, but a lot of people start, kind of like what you're saying, start getting wise to, some of the information surrounding arrows and lethality and all of that good stuff. What would you say, where's a good starting point, aside from just, contacting you and having you hook them up? If they don't quite have that ability, for whatever reason, where would you have someone start if they want to start taking their arrows more seriously?
Well, I would say that first start spending the extra $10 to go from the gamer to the elite shaft that has a tighter straightness tolerance. Invest in quality broadheads. I can't stress that enough, right? Like, I think a lot of guys, they even some of my guys, right? Like, they buy these expensive arrows and then they put a Rage broadhead on the front of it. I'm like, man, you're driving a Ferrari through a car wash right now, man. Why are you doing that, dude? Like, it'll work, but you're not going to experience the maximum benefit there, man. I would say start taking the time to properly tune your equipment, and tune your bow, and buy an arrow that's consistent and straight, and ultimately, I mean, just the broadheads, man. I have to go back to it because it's so important. It's so important to shoot a quality broadhead, man. So that would be my starting point. Invest in quality broadheads.
We can stick on that topic for a minute, because I'm sure there's people listening who would be like, what do you mean? Rage is like the best broadhead out there. How is that not top quality? Explain a little more in depth on the broadhead thing, because we can go back and forth, and it does include broadheads, but we can go back and forth on, you need a X amount grain arrow, you need X amount FOC, you need this, you need that, and all of that stuff is important, but it does all start with that broadhead. That is what contacts that animal the first thing that contacts it. That's what's driving your arrow through the animal.
It finishes with that broadhead. With that broadhead. You can have the straightest, most durable, perfectly tuned arrow on the planet. But when that arrow gets to that animal and it hits that animal and that mechanical broadhead fails to open up, you've just wasted all of the money, right? Mm-hmm. You've wasted all of the time tuning. You've wasted all of it because in the moment of truth, your equipment failed you. Yeah. Yeah. Why ever leave that door of opportunity open?
And that's one thing that you see a lot is, like you said, guys go and they buy the newest bow. They trick it out with all of the cool stuff, because we are living in a time where your bow can be absolutely awesome. They spend
as much as you want to spend
money on camo and travel and archery and you name it. And then, they go buy a $35 pack of broadheads. And I don't know. I don't know why.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I just don't know why the buck stops there for everybody, and a lot of people are just content with it too. They don't care,
Yeah. Well, a lot of guys have had, I mean, listen, I'm not here to say that you can't kill a deer with a cheaply made mechanical broadhead.
Oh, of course
because
not.
You can.
Yeah, absolutely.
You definitely can. But the purpose, the purpose of building a high-end arrow and tuning your bow and all of that, you're doing those things to remove negative variables from the equation, right? Like you're doing that. And so why would you leave that window of opportunity open? I mean, you're buying a $400 set of arrows and you're shooting them out of a $2,000 bow with brand new strings that you just put on there and all the gear and all the stuff. And then you have this piece of equipment that, just based on the materials that it's made from, has a higher probability of failure than anything else that you're using. And coincidentally, that is the most important piece of equipment that you have when the moment comes, man. When the moment is in front of you, that's the most important piece of equipment in your entire setup. It's what matters the most and what's get the job done for you, man.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of funny, because I think another thing that people skimp on highly, again, it's a blade. People skimp on the knife they bring with them in the woods all the time. And you'll see Montana Knife Company. They've said that before. I've seen it a couple places of you spend all this money on all of this different hunting related stuff, and then you got a crappy Walmart knife.
You got a $29 knife in your bag, and you think you're fixing to quarter an elk up and carry it out of there. You're not. You're not, man.
And
you get what you pay for.
Absolutely.
When it comes to materials, man, you absolutely get what you pay for, man. And Montana Knife Company, sure, they're maybe the most expensive knife ever.
You just can't get them.
But it's just right, and you can't get them because the people who know about quality are buying them the minute they're made.
Yeah,
they're gone.
Yeah, literally within a minute. But so, what kind of broadheads? Obviously, we've alluded to mechanical. Is, again, it's not, if you shoot mechanical and that's your gospel, then that's fine. I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you different, but we're alluding to fixed blade broadheads. And so the next natural question would be, okay, well, where do I go from there? Because just like with a mechanical, there's a wide array of fixed blade as well. And so what, if a guy's willing, guys, you got to understand when we're talking about this, we're talking about, you're going to get a pack of 3 broadheads that are going to run you at the minimum $80 for a pack of 3.
At the minimum. Yeah.
So what could guys or what should guys be looking at when they're looking at a fixed blade? So we can dive into maybe how many blades, single bevel. We can talk about the benefits of because you can still go buy a cheap 4-blade, shitty made, shitty material fixed blade as well.
Right. Which I think is better, right? I mean, it's better because you're removing a failure possibility. But I mean, look at it like this, right? So you take a fixed blade that you're buying in a 3-pack and they're $40, right? Well, you're shooting 1 deer with that fixed blade, maybe 2, and then they're made in such a way where the blades on them are so thin that you're not resharpening this thing, man. You're not using this over and over. You're putting it in the trash, and then before you know it, 3 years down the line, you've bought 5 packs of these things. You've spent $200, right?
Yep.
And you're still getting single, maybe twice use out of them, and that's it. Versus spending $250 in one sitting on 6 broadheads, and that'll last you for 25 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's an upfront investment that pays dividends down the line.
Yeah.
And what that does, man, is you have a quality product that's reliable, that's made of super durable materials that are super sharp, that can hold an edge, that can hold a blade. Their weights are super consistent. They bring penetration factors into the whole situation that you're not getting with something else like that. And before you know it, if you look 5 years down the line, you've spent twice as much on crappy products that you could have just bought right the first time and still had them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And never mind the fact that when you're constantly changing broadheads, you're constantly wrapped up with tuning to those broadheads versus, hey, I shoot the same broadhead. I've shot the same broadhead for 4 years. I don't have to tune my bow to that broadhead. It's just there. It's always there. And my setup's never going to change. I'm shooting the same thing every single year, Yeah.
Yeah. So let everybody know. Yeah, go ahead.
I shoot iron will. Iron will broadheads just because of the quality. I've never had an arrow hit a deer that hasn't given me a pass through. And a lot of guys, you can get that with a mechanical broadhead, but the difference is when you go to a quality fixed blade and you put weight up on front of the arrow, and I'm not talking anything crazy here, you're opening up a possibility for yourself that when you are in that moment and that 5.5-year-old Midwestern whitetail standing in front of you and your heart's beating 200 beats per minute, and you make a shot on that animal that's less than ideal, you hit that animal in the shoulder, you don't have to worry about that because you're going right through that shoulder like it's made out of butter. You're still hitting vitals and you're coming out on the other side of it, and your emotions didn't cause you to lose an animal or make a shot that could be viewed as unethical, within yourself. I believe in taking an ethical shot on an animal. And so I think that, and we haven't even touched on that, but I think that depending on the equipment you're using, that is a factor as well. You can take a shot with a quality broadhead like that you can't with a mechanical broadhead and still be underneath the umbrella of ethical hunting, in my opinion.
No, that's a great point. I think that all too often we look at ethical shots as there's an end all be all. There is a line, and you either cross it or you don't. And the reality is, to what you said, your line in the sand of ethics, it moves with your equipment.
Yes.
And,
yes.
you know, I've had the Ashby guys on here a handful of times, and, you know, they will not tell you to take an unethical shot just because you think your equipment can do it. Or, you know, maybe you built like the full 12 factor Ashby approved arrow. Then, you know, if you do that, it's going to blast through anything. It just will.
Anything.
They've tested it so much. You just can't argue that. But they still won't tell you, take an unethical shot just because you can. But you do, that line does move. Because when you know, you got guys that, I posted something a week or two ago about, you know, shot placement, and you should never shoot at the shoulder. It should always be back from the shoulder, go for the double lung, even the liver. To me, a liver shot's less ethical. If you're knowingly going to take a liver shot, that's less ethical than me taking a shot towards the shoulder when I know what my equipment can do. It was
100%.
It was built for that. And
Yes.
and that's what people don't really talk about. They just say, "Oh, you shot at the shoulder. That's terrible." Well, I have a single bevel broadhead that rotates specifically to split bone, and I have the weight,
Right.
the FOC, and the weight of my arrow a specific way because that's what it's designed to do. So that's not unethical of me.
And the bottom line is if you have the right equipment and you shoot that shoulder, we all know what's right on the other side of that shoulder. And we all know that when you get through that shoulder, because your equipment will allow that animal is going to die in a fraction of the time as an animal that you shot with your rage broadhead in the liver.
Yeah.
It just is. That liver shot, man, that deer is it's gonna go through something before it expires.
Yeah.
But you shoot a deer and you get that heart shot, man, you're talking seconds and it's over. It's done. And I think there's something to be said for that, man. I really do.
Well, and I mean, even if you're a little above the heart or in that general vicinity, the amount of arteries and veins that are running to the heart in there, like that is a very deadly place to put an arrow.
Deadly.
And if you did everything right on your end building that arrow, you can have confidence. And,
yes,
it's been said jokingly, but a lot of guys will say, well, I like my rage, I like my mechanical because it opens up 35 inches wide. It puts a huge hole in them, and there's just
a blood trail, right?
Red carpet blood trail. Well, I don't have to have a giant blood trail because I see my deer die. I see
my deer die right there. That's 100% right.
And
so when I shoot that deer at 4:00 in the afternoon, and then I go and I drag it out of there 20 minutes later because I watched it die right over there, I don't need that blood trail, right? That's the common argument, right? The blood trail's not good.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't need to be good. When you watch the animal go down and that animal's 35 yards over there, I don't need a blood trail or a flashlight. I'm going to go get it right now, and I'm going to be home in time for dinner, man.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, man.
And for newer guys that are listening too, understand that rabbit hole we go. The whole blood trail thing, people are going to tell you the wider the cut, the better the blood trail, blah, 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 blah. Your blood trail has way more to do with where you shot that animal, where that exit hole is. Your broadhead doesn't make the blood trail. If you shoot a rage broadhead through just underneath the spine where that entire body cavity is filling with blood before it touches the ground, you're not going to have a good blood trail there either. So that's just a little caveat just for the new guys that are listening. Don't get roped into the blood trail thing when you're looking at broadheads because you're going to hear, well, fixed blades, yeah, they're really good. They're deadly. They have a lot of benefits, but you don't get any blood out of them. Shoot them in the right spot.
Shot placement is the king in bow hunting. There is no substitute. And I understand the logic, right? I get the logic, right? You have a broadhead that opens up 2.5 inches. That's great that you have that. With that capability, you sacrifice penetration, which leads to animal suffering, right?
Yeah.
You minimize your margin of error, which maximizes animal suffering. And so, yeah, sure. If you heart shot a deer with a rage broadhead, there's going to be blood all over the place.
Oh yeah.
But the same rings true if I heart shot a deer with a field point. There's going to be blood all over the place. Yeah. So it all comes down to shot placement. And so, in that moment, it's just so much more important to me personally as a bow hunter to know that my equipment is up to par, because it's bigger than bow hunting, man. It's bigger than a blood trail. And this is just my personal belief, right? But you're dealing with a life, and you're taking a life. And so when I'm taking life from something else, which I am so blessed to have the privilege to do, then I want to do it the right way. And I want to do it as painlessly for that animal as I can. And that's just my personal belief, and I stick by that, and that'll never change. That's one of the most satisfying things of bow hunting is it's just, I think that it's such an intimate connection that you have in that moment, knowing that you have the ability to take a life. And so why do you want to play games with that, man? Just so you can see blood all over the ground and post a picture of it on your Instagram page? I'm good on that, man. I want a freezer full of deer meat, and I don't need the big story. I don't need the big story with that, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, and I think it's a cooler story to see. Yeah, I watch it go, and didn't even realize it was hit. Because there's another part too when you got a super sharp broadhead that is, like you said, the weight of your arrow. We're not talking 1,000 grain arrow here. We're not. You're talking probably what, mid fives, around 5.
I shoot 490. 490. Yeah, a little under 5. Yeah.
490. I shoot. Right now, I'm at 585, which is still underneath that magic number you guys all, hear from the Ashby people, which they don't even, they have their own thing on that too. But when you got that super sharp broadhead, that thing zips right through it. A lot of times that deer, it may not even realize it's been hit. It feels a little like, what the hell was that? Yeah, and it walks.
Like a pinch.
Yeah, it walks 20 yards, and then it just kind of... and dumps over.
I'm feeling funny.
My first deer this year, I shot that thing. It was about 26 yards, and quartering away, I tucked it right behind the rib cage, went out, broke the offside shoulder, and she was gone in literally less than 10 seconds. I mean, what more could you ask for from a bow hunter? Like, for me, knowing that deer, she trotted off. She knew something was weird, and it's because her shoulder was broken. Like, she was standing there, and all of a sudden her shoulder's broken, and she's dead in under 10 seconds. And that was the most satisfying part of that whole hunt. I made a really, really good shot. Everything blah blah blah. The best part of that hunt was knowing that deer did not go lay down, did not bed down for 7 hours, and just
suffer with a liver shot.
And suffer. Yeah, I was able to just end it as quickly as I possibly could, and that's the best feeling that I could ever ask for in hunting. So guys, there's a lot more that goes into your broadhead choices than you might think there is. But
sure. My second one this season was very similar to that, man. I made a really good shot, and it was textbook.
So before we cut out of here, one thing that I've been seeing a lot, I kind of told you, guys, we were gonna start the show with this, but then I decided this may be a rabbit hole that would take too much time. But I want to talk with somebody, because I've had a couple conversations online today about it. Where do you personally draw your line with technology in the woods? We've got, it started way back in the day with those little, like, what were they, like trip wires way back? And then, we got trail cams with SD cards where you had to go pull the card. Then we got cell cams where now it's coming to your phone. And then, cell cams get better and better. It's coming right to your phone right now. Now we're kind of tiptoeing around live feeds where you can sit there and watch the deer in real time. Where do you personally draw the line in your hunting? And this is not to say that you're condemning if the next guy likes trail cams with live feeds. If it's legal, you do you, buddy. But where do you kind of draw the line with technology in the woods?
So I don't have any issue with any of that. And here's why. At the end of the day, you still have to go in there and you still have to follow the basic principles of success in bow hunting, right? You still have to be quiet, manage your scent, hunt the correct wind. And then in the moment, you still have to perform. Outside of that, man, I mean, it's cool to get pictures of the deer and get the patterns and all that stuff like that. But I just think that it's such an up close thing with the animal that I don't really know. I mean, yeah, sure. It kind of opens that window of like, well, where the deer is every day at this time. Yeah, but I'm still 20 yards away from that animal, and one of 1,000 things could happen in that time where I can blow it. So, I think it's different for rifle hunters because number one, I think that rifle hunting is so much easier, right? Like, I mean, it's so much easier. Your opportunity to ruin your hunt or to get busted out of there is so much, like, it's exponentially smaller already. And then to add some of that in there, I mean, I think that game gets a little bit unfair, and it becomes shooting instead of hunting. But on the bow hunting side, man, I just think that, having trail cameras that send pictures to your phone right away and all this stuff, man, I mean, that's all fine and good, but nothing is going to help you in that moment actually get that done. And so I think that the difficulty factor is still there. I mean, I would hate to see the scouting side of hunting leave it and go away, the old school way of having to go out and find deer sign and all of that. But I think ultimately technology is going to, pull us away from that anyways. It is getting so good now that in a lot of states, in Georgia, man, you can just dump a pile of corn on the ground and put a camera on it and see every deer see every deer on your property in 48 hours.
Right.
But yeah, so that the short answer is that I don't see any problem with live feeds and stuff like that, man, because, if you got a deer that's on a live feeding camera while you're in the deer stand, you're going to have a pretty tough time getting out of your stand and going to where that deer is undetected with a bow and getting it done anyways, So that's kind of my thought process there. How about you?
But no, for me, I feel like because I primarily hunt public land, I'm a little weary of putting trail cams out just because they get stolen all the time, especially if you're talking a cell cam where you're dumping $150 or more into it. To me, I'm not poor, but I'm not that rich to just be handing out trail cams, so that's one element for me. But I feel like for me personally, and like I said, this is just me. This is not saying anything's wrong with anybody else. I like having the mystery of not knowing what's there and when it's there. Now, I'm in Iowa too, so we can't bait. We can't do any of that. The closest you're going to get to baiting is if you have private land that has a food plot. But I really enjoy the process of going out, finding sign, and just the mystery of is this sign going to lead me to a deer or not? And a lot of times it doesn't. A lot of times it's really fresh sign, and for whatever reason, they just don't come through. And, that's my personal hunting style. The situation that kind of bugs me with where trail cams are going, I think it's if they're used to this extreme, which I don't think it will be, but the far out argument is that, Dustin, you're sitting in your house on your land and your phone goes off and this buck is right here, right now. He's browsing. He's not moving through. You know exactly where he's at. You throw your whatever gear on, you grab your bow, you run out to, which direction he's headed. You run out to head him off, cut him off. That deer comes through because you knew he was going to be there, and you shoot and kill him. So where is the fair chase in that? That argument can also be made with guys who run multiple cell cameras on their property where they literally know exactly where that deer is going. So given, like you said, there's a lot more that goes into it, guys. You're not just going to run out there and shoot the deer. That doesn't happen.
No,
but if the wind's right, if you're able to get in an area where you can get out ahead of him, you know exactly where he's going. That's where I kind of, it doesn't fit my personal hunting style. I think that takes a lot of the work out of it. But, like you said, there are a lot of elements. You've still got to get in there. You've still got to be undetected. You've still got to get close. You've still got to make a perfect shot. And how many guys are actually sitting at home, they get a notification and they're running out to the woods. That's not really a totally realistic scenario.
I mean, you're talking about a fraction of a percent.
Yeah. But that seems to be the big, I can't remember who it was. They put a video out. They're a really big person. I should know their name, but they put the video out probably 2-3 weeks ago talking about, I'm worried about where this is going. And that's been the argument that I've seen since. And, I talked to another one of my buddies earlier today about it on Instagram. And, he said his buck this year, he was not going to sit that stand, but the night before or whatever it was, he got a picture. So he decided to sit that stand. He ended up killing his buck. Had he not had the trail camera, he would have been in a different area. The buck would have lived to see another day. So, it just kind of I don't know.
It's such
people say,
I see both sides of it. I totally understand the point that you're making with that too, man. So it's not like, I look at my situation, bro. I run, listen, I'll be the first, dude, I run 15 cell cameras on my property, 15. But the property that I hunt is also an hour away. It's an hour from me, man. You know what I mean? So even if I wanted to jump in the truck and go up there, I'm an hour and 20 minutes from making that happen regardless. So, for those guys that have their property and they live on their property, I mean, I see where that's a realistic, there's that realistic potential there. But 99% of even private land deer hunters, man, 95% of them, their property is offsite somewhere. And so, I don't know. I see both sides of what you're saying, though, for sure. And I'm not so narrow-minded about it that I don't see that there's potential there for the game to be rigged. You know what I mean? But my hunting property, man, is an hour away. If I get a picture on my phone from a cell camera 30 minutes before dark, it's just not happening, dude.
Hammer down.
Yeah, you're right. Unless I jump in a helicopter, I mean, I ain't getting there in time, man. And I think that applies to a lot of guys, man.
Yeah. And I thought it was funny. I was saying something earlier too about like we have this idea in our minds of what bow hunting should be, because we think back to the Indians or the Native Americans and we're like, they're out there with, just sticks and strings made of sinew, and they made their own flint knap, this and that. And, every little bit of technology, we're getting further away from hunting. Dude, if you went back in time and you told whoever it is, I'm going to say Chief Blackhawk because that's where I'm from. Chief Blackhawk's big here. If you went to Chief Blackhawk and you said, hey, bro, try these cameras out, do you think those guys would have been like, no, that's not hunting?
This is the right way.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah.
I think
they would do it. They would do it in a heartbeat, man. Technology has just allowed it. And I mean, I know that it does give you an edge, right? Like it 100% gives you an edge, but I have to stand firm, man, that ultimately you are still killing an animal with a bow and arrow, which is an ultimate challenge. It is such a challenge, no matter what you're doing. I mean, short of catching these deer in a foot trap and knowing they're going to be there in the morning, you know what I mean? Like it is still, there's just still so much opportunity for error there, man. You know what I mean? The wind to be wrong, or the deer to see you draw your bow. I mean, there's just so many different things that can go wrong in that scenario that, I just think that having the ability to in real time learn the pattern doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to kill the deer. It just gives you an idea of what's going on out there, but you still have to do it. You still have to get in undetected. You still have to make it happen. And I mean, I know you said you hunt a lot of public land, but would your opinion be the same about it if you hunted private land exclusively?
Probably not. And that's one thing I was thinking about earlier when I was having that discussion with some people was I have formed my style of hunting primarily because it's, my personality. But another big thing of that is like, I don't hunt public land because I'm a public land hunter. I do it because I have to.
Right.
I don't have another choice. And if if you were to come to me tomorrow and say, hey, dude, I got a 500-acre farm that's just loaded with giant deer, I'm just going to give it to you. Like, I'm not going to be like, no. I don't want any part of that. Food plots, all that stuff, all the stuff that I don't care about right now, land management, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't tell you no. I'm good. I'm gonna stay on public land.
But in order to have that 500 acres, you have to run 30 cell cameras year round out there. You taking it?
If you're paying for it. But I mean, that is a flip side of it too. Is like, sure, you can make the argument that it makes hunting easier, and I mean, that's a point of technology. It makes difficult things easier. That's why we're making innovations. Yeah. But I mean, it is cool too. Like, I do enjoy when my buddy Tom sends me pictures from his land, and you catch that, ooh, who's that buck? That's a new one. Or his one buck Bruce that's been there for 3 years now, and it's cool. You can watch them grow. There are a lot of cool aspects about it as well. And yeah, I really think if I had my own private land, I would probably absolutely run trail cams. I would take on land management and look at planting food plots. And because one thing I had talked to last week, Ben from Sodak Horizon, like, one thing that doesn't get talked about, you've got your public land, you got private land guys. A lot of times private land guys get shit because all you're doing is you're planting bait, so it's legal, and they come in to you. You don't have to go find them. It's not hunting. You can make that argument all you want, but the bottom line too is what he was bringing up. You also got to give them some credit for they're improving the habitat for the animals that aren't being shot. You're going to chase one deer in that scenario. Yeah. You're likely to have 1 to 2 shooter bucks, but the rest of that herd's life is improved because you've made those land improvements.
It's better. Yeah. And then look at that hunter personally, right? What people, so you have your people, right? They're like, oh, well, they're planting food plots, it's bait and all that, but they're also spending tens of thousands of dollars of their own money to make that better for their deer herd, man. I think that is an overlooked contribution to what these guys are doing for that entire, for that species of animal, man. They are giving those animals sanctuary, and sure, they're out there, but just like you said, they're not out there to if it's brown, it's down, kill everything, man. They're out there for that trophy animal. They're passing on all these other deer. They're allowing deer to mature. I mean, they're doing it the right way. They have way more exposure than guys that hunt public land exclusively, because when you're hunting public, man, you're not paying for that property. You're not investing in that property. You're not putting your time and financial well-being into that property. I'm not saying you're not putting your time in, because you definitely put your time in, more on the scouting side for sure. But you're, you don't have the exposure that somebody who's managing and doing it the right way and managing property is doing. And one thing I forgot to touch on real quick that just kind of, light bulb, and it makes sense to me is when I think about the cell cam thing, right? And you think about the newer hunters, the new generation of hunters, the guys that are coming in. I mean, I think that we shouldn't devalue the engagement that it creates with those guys with their hunting situation. Let's say you have a new bow hunter that doesn't kill anything all year, his first year, which is common. I mean, it's hard to do. Yeah. That camera and seeing those animals, it keeps that drive going. It keeps them in the sport. Yeah. It keeps them from getting discouraged from their failures, because, hey, they're seeing like, no, he's here. He's still there. That deer is there. I just need to do better. I need to learn more about this sport. And I think that's an unspoken benefit, man, is it keeps guys in. Yeah. Because otherwise, bow hunting is riddled with failure. It is a sport of failure. And, the beautiful thing about it is that when you do have that success, it wipes away that failure, no matter how many failures there were leading up to that. But it takes, I respect what you do, because it takes a special kind of personality to go and hunt public land where you have no cameras, no idea what you're going to see, and to just maintain that level of engagement month after month after month after month. I mean, that's a hard thing to do, man. I mean, part of our nature is unfortunately, particularly nowadays with people, I mean, it is a nature of instant gratification. And, you know, those guys that don't get that right away, they're out, they're on to the next thing, and you lose them from the sport, which can't be hurt by having the people involved in it. And so I think that trail camera keeps those people, particularly the newer guys, engaged and keeps them going until they get a taste. And then after that, you know, once you get a taste of that success, it's over, man. Like you live it. It's over, dude. There's nothing like it. So, you know, I think it keeps that encouragement there to get them there. And then, you know, then you got somebody who's in it for the rest of their life, man. So,
yeah, I think that was a good little rabbit hole to go down, because I think we exposed a couple of perspectives that don't get shared. A lot of times you pick an extreme of each side. Like I said, it's either, you know, trail cams are just cheating. This guy is just going to get a picture. He's going to go kill this deer. There was no chase. Nobody ever talks about what you said. Okay, well, get your picture and go try to chase down a deer. Show me how that works.
Yeah,
you know,
I would challenge you to show me that.
Yeah. Even from a guy like me who I don't, you know, like I said, not by choice, but I hunt public land. You hear food plots, big deer farms, the Drurys, like they cheat. They're just a bunch of cheat. Well, you don't often hear people talk about, but what about the rest of the deer herd? What about all the turkeys? What about all the rest of the wildlife in the area that is benefiting from that? And what about they're allowing these deer to mature and live full lives before they choose one and take it? They're not killing a 2-year-old that never got a chance. You know, so I think we hit on a couple of really good perspectives that just get looked over, just don't get brought up at all. So
for sure, man.
But hey, man, I appreciate you hanging out with me today. I'm glad we finally got it in. I had a blast talking to you.
Yeah,
obviously
dude.
This isn't the last we're going to be talking to each other, and I'm sure I'll have you on this show again and again.
Man, I would love to. I would love to do it again. I looked forward to this week, man, all week. So I committed at the beginning of the week. I'm like, man, we're going to make this happen. Because we've done this 3 or 4 times now, and it's just, you know, so
yeah.
I enjoyed it, man. I'm thankful that you had me and took your time to have me on as a guest with you, and yeah, man, I love talking deer hunting, and this was a great conversation, Vince.
For sure. Well, let's let everyone know where they can find you online, your website, Instagram, everything. If you guys are not currently following him, as soon as he tells you, as soon as you get off here, run over there and follow him. Where can they find you?
Awesome, man. So we're Adams Precision Archery. You can find us on Instagram at Adams Precision Archery, or you can find us online at adamsprecisionarchery.com. Check us out. We've got several offerings for you that'll take your bow hunting experience to the next level, man. So thank you guys so much for the support.
He's got it all. He does it all. And if you just like seeing kick-ass pictures and videos of arrows, hit him up on Instagram, because he puts them out all the time. Like I said, he's a great account to follow. He's always talking to all of his friends and followers, doing lives. Very, very accessible, great guy. Go check him out. And make sure you guys, after you check him out, make sure you're following us too. We are at Antler&FeatherCo on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. We're over on Twitter now too. No TikTok. I'm an American. And so I got to throw that little thing in there every time. It's probably the one reason I'm not growing exponentially, but you know what? It's okay. Who cares? If you guys found value in this show, if you guys feel like you learned something new, if you enjoyed the show, make sure you guys like, subscribe, rate, review, share, all of that social media stuff. I only ask that you do that not because I make millions of dollars off this, because believe me, I don't, but it helps me get this show in front of more people. And when that happens, I can keep getting great guests on like we had tonight. And ultimately, that's going to make you more deadly in the woods. So thank you guys so much for listening tonight. I appreciate every single one of you guys. We're going to catch you next Tuesday. This is the Antler&FeatherCo Podcast. You are listening to the Antler&FeatherCo Podcast.